Hi, Flick here from the Nerd Soapbox, and today we're at Comic-Con Revolution, Ontario, and I'm here with a special guest. It's Steve J. Palmer. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Flick. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Well, Steve is best known to the Soapbox gang for voicing the character Bill Williamson in the popular Red Dead Redemption video game series. So, Steve, to quote Bill Williamson,
yes.
Don't try anything stupid, and we won't do anything unkind.
That's right.
Were you a fan of the Western genre before you were cast in Red Dead Redemption?
Absolutely, Flick. My dad is a huge movie buff.
Right.
And film aficionado, and growing up, you'd watch cable, and like in the evening or like a Saturday afternoon, they'd have like some classic John Wayne or
right.
Clint Eastwood Western, and we'd watch, and my dad would tell me the stories like, one of our favorite scenes to watch together is the scene Clint Eastwood and Joe Kidd, where he's on top of the adobe fort, he's trying to take out the soldiers, so he lowers that clay pot on the rope. And it's that single backup frame sequence where it's swing back and it's slowly lowering, and it whooshes by his head, and he turns, and there's that long pause, and it comes from behind. And that's one of the most cleverly shot scenes of a Western. But like things like Joe Kidd, the Cowboys with John Wayne, and Roscoe Lee Brown, who gives his hanging monologue in that film, is one of my favorites. But yeah, I grew up watching old Westerns with my dad. I love them.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right. Well, what did you think of your character in the first game, and how did your perception change when you did Red Dead 2, which was a prequel to the events of the original?
Well, I get asked this question a lot, Flick, and the best way, if you know nothing about Red Dead 2, and people obviously, just because of the way it released, they play Red Dead 1, and they're saying, wow, Bill really is this cold-hearted jerk.
Right.
But before the game, when we started going to filming, my perception, I took a kind of a kinder view of Bill, because I think he's kind of a character you feel sorry for.
Right.
And what I did as an actor is, I remember him playing the first game, and there's that scene where John is reunited with Abigail and Jack and Uncle back at Beecher's Hope, and they're doing missions where they're just getting the farm back and the ranch back going, and they're running missions together. And he's telling Abigail basically what he did. He's like, well, I dealt with Javier, I dealt with Dutch, I dealt with Bill, and Bill was like the worst terror in New Austin, and in the mission, Abigail's like, Bill is an idiot. Bill was harmless. How did he become the worst? And going into Red Dead 2, I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if I approached Bill the way Abigail saw him? But not so much as someone who is just like this dolt that screws everything up in the gang. I think with Bill, I think in a lot of ways Bill means well, and he wants to contribute to the gang, and seen as a contributor. And I think he's not as dumb as people think. I think that he has feelings inside, and he is horrible at expressing himself.
All right.
And that comes into clumsiness and whatnot, and Bill getting frustrated with that, and from that leads all his errors, and that's when people get killed and things are broken and things get messy. But that's the approach that I took with it.
Oh, all right, fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, but what is your favorite Bill Williamson line?
Everyone, every time I go to a convention like this, people remember the Fort Mercer scene, and the famous where Bill is looking down, is like, you implore me, and that's everyone's favorite. It's because of that, it's so popular. That's like the catchphrase. Every one of the characters has a catchphrase. Like you see Uncle, and everyone's talking. Everyone's like, oh, lumbago this, lumbago that. But one that is becoming of mine is when Bill's like, I work smart. I'm actually, when I sign autographs, I'm putting that quote. it's completely for Bill. I mean, that's a huge oxymoron, but there's a lot. But that's one that I like. You know.
All right. Within the time frame, let's see. Did anyone at Rex? Okay, well, let me go back for a second.
Okay. Sure.
How much time passed between your first day of recording dialogue and the game's release? Roughly.
I can tell you pretty much. We worked on Red Dead 2, a new game. It's like 6 months old, but it's still a new game to me. Yeah. I would say that we worked in secret on the game for 5 years. I have been keeping 5 years.
4 years?
I would say
5 years
plus one.
Okay.
5 years. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. Sometimes when I realized that puppet counting is slightly different. It's okay. But no, 5 years. Half a decade.
Wow.
Yes.
Jeez. In that time frame, did anyone at Rockstar show you what the game was looking like and progressing? We were able to see a lot of stuff early on. All right.
And they were kind where there were times where we got to see some of the monitors where we could kind of just see, because sometimes we would film a scene and then we would kind of leave it alone for a bit and pick it up like 4 or 5 months later.
Okay.
And then we were doing so much, it was like, okay, that's the one, blah, blah, blah. And they'd like bring us to the monitors. So I was like, well, we got kind of the cutscene up and we'd see it just to get our druthers about to where we left off and whatnot. But I saw some amazing stuff. I mean, there's a lot that we did that didn't make the final cut that we worked on. And
Red Dead 2, 3?
Well, no, I think it would go in the context for just Red Dead 2, and I think just for certain flow, like everything, you work on something's going to get cut for time constraints or it doesn't quite flow right. But I did, to answer the question, the cast, we did get to see a lot of the early stuff, how it would look in the ground, and we were amazed by it then. And it just, but we thought it looked great in the form we saw it in, but it was hardly done. And then now what you finally see when you
it's
put the game
amazing.
In, it's amazing. You put it in the console and your jaw drops. So yeah.
Are you a gamer?
I am.
Have you played the games?
I have played the original Red Dead 100 times over, and I've been on the same campaign since opening day in October. I am still at the end of chapter 6.
All right.
And I'm milking it because I'm going for 100%. So I'm going and I'm going to, I'm collecting all the cards.
All right.
I'm hunting all the pelts to make every satchel, every piece of clothing, and I'm trying to get 100% completion. So the fact that I haven't finished it yet, but I'm taking it in the time I want to take it.
All right.
Yeah.
Are you Team Arthur or Team Dutch?
Well, as Bill is always Team Dutch. That's one of his biggest mistakes. I think if Steve is Team Arthur and Team John, but I think that part of me also, which is like it's kind of like one of those choices. Is like if Bill had just made a left instead of a right, or gone this way instead of that, I feel like he could have been on Team Arthur.
Okay.
And it really, if you actually play both games in chronological order, like especially if like an Xbox One, I think it can be heartbreaking. It's a heartbreaking story. It's a beautiful narrative, but it's one of those things that's going to get you right here.
If Steve J. Palmer were in Dutch's gang instead of Bill, which gang member would you hang out with? If you were in the gang.
If I was in the gang, I would probably stay away from Bill. I feel like we have some similarities, but I don't know. I would hang out with all the girls.
Like Karen?
I would. Yes. No. I think
she'd be a great drinking buddy.
Here's who I would get along with. I would probably get along. I'd get along with Lenny and Sean.
All right.
I think they would be the fun ones because it's like they, like me, it's like you hang around a group of people and then something stupid happens and you're like, you just kind of know, it's like, I think we should not be here for this.
Right.
You got that sense of, I don't want to part. So I think it'd be hanging out with Karen, Mary Beth, Sean, and Lenny would be the comfortable, safe bet. I think that's probably what I'd hang out with.
Okay. Do you still like birds, even after your gig as a former bird animal handler for the Cincinnati Zoo?
Oh my goodness, no one's ever asked me that. Yeah, I was one of my early jobs. Yeah, no one's ever brought this up before.
Wings of Wonder.
Wings of Wonder. Back in the early 2000s, I used to do regional theater in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Right.
After I did that, I got a job, auditioned, and got there was a character called Bob the Janitor, and he would kind of like come down from the steps in pre-show, and I did the Wings of Wonder, and I was also part of the intro to the Elephant Show. And I got to work with animals where basically I was the comedic foil where we worked on we'd rehearse where the animals were trained to, like the birds were trained to come and attack me. Like I had a giant California condor land in my crotch at one point, and I had ground up I think it was ground up guinea pig or gerbil meat or something with wheat germ, where they put something in there where that's what they love to eat, and it's like made up like a ground beef. And I washed my hands for like 40 minutes straight afterwards. But I would have it planted so he would come down, and his nails were clipped, but it was trying to come down and try to go to the hand, but I had it near my lower area, so when he landed, and I go, ugh! But it got laughs. I would also be back. We worked with African hornbills and stuff, raccoons, skunks, and I would get them out of the cages, set them up. They were trained to go through these ramps and slopes on the back of the set and enter through holes, and I did that. In like from 2002 to 2003, and it was one of the most greatest experiences. But yeah, I was the guy. So if you were around at Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Gardens from 202 to 203, and you saw a show there with Bob the Janitor, that was me. And I was doing the elephant and bird show, and it was fun. So people was like, "Oh, don't work with kids, don't work with animals." I loved it. It was so much. It was a great time. It was great.
Wow.
Yeah.
What are you working on now?
Right now, I've got some. Looks like I'm going to get involved in some live theater in LA coming up. But I've got some things that we're kind of brewing. I can't talk about yet.
Some brands in the fire, so to speak.
Yes, some brands in the fire, and then I'll take them out, and put them on the back of the cow's butt, and you'll know. But no, I do got other conventions lined up.
Right.
I'm going to be at SAC Anime in 3 weeks. I just came from Florida. It was Collective Con in Jacksonville Easter weekend. I'm going to be going back to Florida 4th of July weekend for Florida SuperCon, and then you're just going to have to wait and see after that. But I'm just enjoying everything with Red Dead, meeting the fans, and getting great questions that no one's ever asked me about the Cincinnati Zoo. So I was like, oh my God, yeah, I did that. But no, this is I'm just enjoying moments like this. And that's kind of what I'm doing.
Are you on social media?
I am on social media. You can my Twitter and Instagram is the same. It's Steve_J_Palmer, and I like to post fun anecdotes. I like to share my con pictures, and the only thing I ask is everyone just be nice to each other, and we can have a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm easygoing. So.
Wow. Geez, Steve, thanks for talking to us.
Absolutely, Flick. Yes, I love your bow tie, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes, looks good.
Chicks dig bow ties.
They do, or hats.
You should get one.
Yes.
Or bandanas.
They do.
They do.
They do.
They really do.
I do. I've got a bunch of
They
bandanas.
really do.
Yes. Yes.
Well, all right, one more thing.
Yes.
Draw.
Exactly, the Columbia Fox.
I got you.
You did. You did.
I got it.
If you're counting the thumb, You got me right here. You got me right in the jugular. If we're going to the thumb, if you're going here, you shot down in the love hand. There we go. But yes.